Oslo, Norway, July 1971. A Saturday evening that begins the way summer evenings begin in Scandinavia, which is with light that refuses to die. The sky still pale at 9 in the night. The Olympic sports hall packed to its absolute limit. 10,000 people filling every seat, every standing space, every corner where a human body can fit. The air smells of cigarette smoke and anticipation, and the particular energy of 10,000 people who have come to see something they believe will confirm everything they already think is true. This is the International Martial Arts Exhibition of 1971, the biggest martial arts showcase ever held in Scandinavia. Competitors from 14 countries, styles from across the globe, karate, wrestling, boxing, judo, all on display, all competing for recognition. And the undisputed centerpiece of the evening is Erik Bjornsson. They call him the Viking, not ironically, not as a nickname given by others, as a title earned through dominance. 6 feet 5 inches of Norwegian power, 260 pounds of muscle built through 15 years of competitive wrestling and Nordic strength training. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a jaw that looked carved from stone. He moved like a glacier, slow, unstoppable, erasing everything in his path. Erik Bjornsson was 29 years old and had never lost a competition. Not once. Not in wrestling. Not in strength athletics. Not in the mixed exhibitions, where he had begun challenging martial artists from other systems to prove that pure Scandinavian power transcended technique. His record was 53 consecutive victories. 7 of those victories were against black belt martial artists from different disciplines who had accepted his open challenge, believing their technique would compensate for his size. It had not compensated. Erik had handled them the way a mountain handles rain. Tonight, Erik was the final act, the headline, the main event. He had already performed his demonstration. He had already thrown 4 volunteer challengers across the mat with the casual efficiency of someone making tea. The crowd had roared. 10,000 Norwegians celebrating what they saw as proof of the supremacy of their own tradition. And now Erik stood center stage with a microphone, sweat on his brow, chest heaving slightly, gold medals around his neck catching the light. He began his speech. His voice was large. The way everything about him was large. It filled the arena without effort. He spoke in Norwegian first, then in English for the international guests and journalists. I have competed for 15 years, he said. I have faced every style, every tradition, every system that the martial arts world considers dangerous. He paused. Let the crowd settle. None of them could stop me. None of them could touch me. Power is real. Everything else is theater. The crowd cheered. Erik continued. I hear much talk about these Chinese systems. Wing Chun, Kung Fu. I hear the name Bruce Lee. He said the name the way someone says the name of a rumor. With amusement. With dismissal. I have watched his films. Beautiful choreography. Impressive camera tricks. Very good for cinema. He smiled at the crowd. 10,000 people laughed with him. But cinema is not combat. Speed on film is not speed in reality. Technique in movies is not technique against a 260-pound opponent who does not fall on cue. He turned to face the international section of the audience, the section where visiting martial artists and journalists sat. I challenge any practitioner of Chinese martial arts, any kung fu master, any student of Bruce Lee or his methods. He spread his arms wide. Come onto this mat. Prove to 10,000 people that your art works, or admit that what you practice is entertainment, not fighting. The crowd erupted. 10,000 people waiting for someone to stand up. Nobody moved. Erik smiled. The smile of a man who expected this, who had issued this kind of challenge before and always received the same silence. Of course, he said quietly into the microphone. Of course. Then a voice from the 3rd row of the international section. Quiet. Calm. In English. I'll accept. The arena did not hear it immediately. It took 5 seconds for the words to move through the crowd, for people near the source to turn and look, for that turning to spread outward, for the silence to move through 10,000 people like a wave. Everyone turned toward the 3rd row. The man standing there was small, 5 feet 7 inches, 135 pounds, dark hair, dark eyes, wearing simple dark slacks and a black turtleneck. No uniform, no belt, no indication of rank or discipline. He looked like a journalist, like a businessman, like someone who had wandered into the arena and found an empty seat. The man next to him, an American named Dan Inosanto, had grabbed his arm and was saying something urgently. The small man shook his head once, gently but finally. He was already walking toward the aisle. 10,000 people watched in silence as Bruce Lee made his way to the floor. The size difference when they stood together was almost incomprehensible. Eric Jornson looked down at Bruce Lee with the expression of a man who has just been told the weather forecast is a gentle rain. "You," Eric said, still holding the microphone. His voice was good-humored. He was performing for 10,000 people, and he understood the performance. "You are the champion of Chinese martial arts." "I practice Chinese martial arts," Bruce said. His voice was even, not aggressive, not nervous, simply present. "And my own system." Eric looked at the crowd, invited them to share his amusement. They shared it, laughter moving through 10,000 people. "What is your name?" "Bruce Lee." Eric processed this. He had said the name 20 minutes earlier as an example of exactly the kind of theatrical, non-functional martial arts he was dismissing. And now the name was standing in front of him. 135 pounds of it. He recovered quickly. He was a showman. He understood how to use this. "Bruce Lee," he repeated into the microphone for the crowd. "The movie star has come to answer the challenge." More laughter, more energy in the room. This was better than anything he had planned. "Very well, Mr. Lee. You heard my challenge. 1 round. 5 minutes. No rules except no striking the eyes or throat. Anything else is permitted. Can you agree to that?" Bruce nodded. Once, the referee, an international judge named Lars Peterson, who had been refereeing martial arts competitions for 20 years, stepped between them. He looked at Bruce with an expression that contained a question he did not ask aloud. Bruce met his eyes, nodded again. "Gentlemen," Lars said, 5-minute round. Full contact. Both competitors agreed to these terms. Both nodded. "Then take your positions." What happened in the next 4 minutes and 11 seconds would be analyzed, disputed, celebrated, and suppressed for decades. Eric moved first. He moved the way he always moved. Forward, direct, committed. The philosophy of pure power, made physical. His right hand shot out in a grab aimed at Bruce's collar or shoulder. Any grip would do. Any contact. Get his hands on the small man, and it was finished. He outweighed him by 125 pounds. One grip and physics would take care of the rest. Bruce was not there when the hand arrived. He had moved. Small movement. Offline. Just enough. Eric recovered, moved forward again. 2 hands this time. A tackle, essentially. The thing that had finished 7 martial artists before this one. Bruce moved again. The crowd murmured. Eric reset. He was patient. He had caught fighters who moved like this before. Evasive fighters. Runners. They tired eventually. They made a mistake eventually. He had time. He attacked with a combination. Right grab, left punch, driving tackle. Real power in each element. Real commitment. Bruce slipped the grab. Redirected the punch with something so light it barely qualified as contact. And the tackle drove through empty air as Bruce stepped offline again. But this time, as Eric's momentum carried him past, Bruce's left hand touched Eric's ribs. Not a strike. A demonstration. The lightest possible contact that said, "Here. I was here. I could have." Eric felt it and straightened, turning. The crowd was quieter now. 3 minutes of this. Eric attacking with genuine power and technique. Bruce moving. Not backward. Not in retreat. Simply offline. Always finding the angle where the force arrived at empty space. The crowd did not understand what they were watching. They expected power to meet power. They expected the small man to fall. Every time Eric attacked and did not connect, the confusion in the arena deepened. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Eric had thrown 40 techniques. Not one had landed clean. Not one had touched Bruce with any force that mattered. Bruce had not counterattacked. He was waiting, reading, filing information. Then he moved. In the 41st exchange, Eric threw his right hand with the full commitment of a man who has decided to end something. The punch contained 15 years of training, 29 years of physical development, 260 pounds of force directed through a single point. Bruce moved his head 6 inches to the left and stepped in. Not away. In. Inside the punch. Inside the guard. Inside the range where Eric's size became irrelevant because the leverage it required did not exist at this distance. Bruce's right hand came up. Not a punch. A strike to the nerve cluster along the lat muscle beneath Eric's right arm. Short. Precise. Perhaps 4 inches of travel. Eric's right arm went numb from shoulder to fingertips. He stared at it, his face showing the specific expression of a man whose trusted instrument has just stopped working without warning. Bruce was already moving. His left hand found Eric's right wrist. His body rotated, hip driving the motion, and suddenly Eric's own momentum, the forward charge he could not stop, became the mechanism of his fall. Erik Bjornsson hit the mat. The crash was audible across the arena. 10,000 people heard it, and then 10,000 people went completely silent. The Viking was on the floor. Not hurt, not unconscious. His body already trying to recover, trying to process what the nervous system was reporting. But on the mat, down, for the first time in 15 years of competition, on the mat, Bruce stood above him. He had not extended his hand to help. He had stepped back. He was waiting, giving Erik time, giving the moment its weight. Erik pushed himself up, slowly, with the deliberate care of someone who is counting how many things in their internal world are still where they left them. He stood. He looked at Bruce Lee. The crowd around them found its voice in pieces, individual voices, then clusters, then a full tide of sound building from nothing to something that shook the rafters of the Oslo Sports Hall. Not all of it was friendly sound. Some of it was confusion. Some of it was protest. Some of it was the specific anger of 10,000 people whose expectations have just been violated. But some of it was something else. Something that had not been in the room 20 minutes ago when Erik Bjornsson had dismissed Chinese martial arts in front of the world. Respect. The referee stepped between them. The round was not finished. 5 minutes had not expired. Erik raised his hand. He was stopping it himself. Lars Peterson looked at him. Do you want to continue? Erik was quiet for a long moment. His eyes did not leave Bruce Lee's face. Then he said something in Norwegian, quietly, for the referee only. Lars nodded. He turned to the crowd and spoke in Norwegian, then English. The Viking has called the match. He wishes to speak. Erik walked to the microphone. He picked it up. He stood in the center of the arena, with 10,000 people watching him, and the marks of the past 4 minutes still visible in the set of his jaw and the way he held his right arm. He spoke in Norwegian first, then English. I said tonight that Chinese martial arts were theater. He paused. His voice was steady. It cost him something to keep it that way. I was wrong. Silence in the arena. Total. This man is a martial artist. What he does is not theater. It is something I do not fully understand. And I have been competing for 15 years, and this is the first time I have said that sentence. He looked at Bruce. I owe you an apology. He crossed the mat and extended his hand. Bruce Lee took it. The sound that came from 10,000 people then was different from everything that had come before. It was the sound of a crowd processing something it did not expect. Something that had moved past the territory of competition into something older. After, in the corridor beneath the arena, they spoke. Erik sat on a bench, still in his competition clothes. Bruce stood. Neither was in a hurry. What did you do to my arm? Erik asked. Interrupted the nerve signal for a moment. Bruce said, the muscle does what the nervous system tells it. Tell the nervous system something else, and the muscle obeys. Erik looked at his arm. Full feeling had returned within 90 seconds. And the throw. You were already moving forward. I only redirected the direction. You used my own force. Your force. Your weight. Your commitment. Bruce paused. You have extraordinary power. Real power. But you were fighting as though power alone was sufficient. Against most opponents, it is. You trained against most opponents. Erik was quiet. Then, why did you come up? When I challenged you, you could have stayed in your seat. Bruce was quiet for a moment. Because you said my art was theater. I've spent 20 years building something real. When someone calls a theater in front of 10,000 people, I have to answer. You answered, Eric said simply. They sat in the corridor for another 20 minutes. Two men from different traditions finding, in the aftermath of collision, a common language. Eric Jornson never issued another public challenge to Chinese martial arts. He competed in strength athletics for 3 more years before retiring with his record intact, except for one entry that the official books do not contain. He began studying movement philosophy, quietly, on his own. The ideas Bruce had mentioned in those 20 minutes under the arena. Be water. He never forgot that. 40 years later, training young Norwegian athletes, he still told the story. Always the same way. Always the same ending. I called him weak in front of 10,000 people, he would say. He did not argue. He did not defend himself with words. He came down to the mat, and he showed me what weak actually looks like. He would pause. Weak is fighting with your eyes closed. Weak is believing you already know what you are about to face. Weak is the man who is so certain of his own strength that he stops learning. He would look at whatever young athlete was in front of him. I was that man. For 15 years, I was that man. He would pause again. He did not humiliate me. He woke me up. There's a difference. I have been grateful for it ever since. Oslo, July 1971. 10,000 witnesses. For minutes 11 seconds, the Viking learned that the greatest opponents are not the biggest. They are the ones who have already decided that size is not the question worth asking.